against him right now for incidences that occurred between February and May of this year, and has been out pending different hearings since then. It worries me because everyone starts somewhere, and you wonder how far this man will go if he is let out again and not kept in jail like he should have been this first time.
I guess my only other question for you is,
We gotta have like a slogan.
Go. They go the balloon.
They came with high hopes today. Hopes for justice at the Goodhue County Courthouse for Jessica Swanson.
How could anybody hurt someone that age? He's 3 years old, the same as Jessica was. How could somebody hurt somebody like this?
I think he should be getting a murder charge.
The confessed killer, Dale Jensen, coolly walks into court today facing a kidnapping charge.
He doesn't deserve to be a free man whatsoever.
But in court, he breaks down and through a plea bargain agrees to second-degree manslaughter. Jensen told investigators he pushed little Jessica into some furniture after she wet her bed. The little girl went unconscious. Jensen is silent afterwards, facing 4 years prison and 2 years probation.
72 months.
72 months is all he's getting for taking the life of Jessica?
But outside, Jessica's friends and family are angry. They want a murder charge.
You take a life, you should give a life.
Society might have a difference of opinion, but we had the facts and we had the issues before us. And on the basis of that, I'm convinced we came to a fair resolution.
Meanwhile, prosecutors with concerns about Jensen's confession agreed to the charge they felt they could prove.
There is no amount of punishment that brings back any victim in this situation, and we can't accomplish that through the court system.
who cares, man? There's no justice in it.
Jessica's friends must now cling to the hope that it won't happen again.
Oh, bear hug.
But for now, they're left wanting justice for Jessica.
What's 6 years to a 3-year-old's life?
Local truckers say the completion of a 4-lane highway along a main route is a boon for business. The Bob Voltz Trucking Company relocated a year ago right on the new Highway 53. Since then, Voltz has doubled his staff and says the recent opening of the highway will save him time and money.
I mean, myself, a commute to work saves me 5 minutes a day alone. And you can see what that saves for a trucking company.
Voltz says the wider highway is safer, too.
When we relocated here, we had to go through Solon Springs, which was a bottleneck, and it was narrow streets and narrow intersections.
The $70 million project, which connects Superior to Eau Claire, has been 13 years in the making.
1, 2, 3.
Several state lawmakers gathered to celebrate its completion.
Highway 53 is now completely open for business. The new and improved Highway 53 is going to make doing business easier. It's encourage more economic development. It's going to boost the tourism industry of northern Wisconsin.
Highway planners tried to balance expansion and environmental needs. That's why they created this extra wide median north of Solon Springs to give wolves and other wildlife a chance to rest before crossing the highway. Many lawmakers and local citizens say it's about time.
Kind of a realization of a wish that we've had for many, many years.
And then we go south sometimes in the winter. So it's a straight shot now. It's 4-lane from Superior all the way down south.
Time for a quicker way to get where you're going. In Solon Springs, Kim Kaiser, News 6.
So I thought I'd grab you and Mauer. These people are pleasant. Hey, they're fun-loving. That's what the game's all about. It's not fighting in the stands, throwing beer at each other. It's 60 minutes and somebody got to win.
Nothing compares to coming here. I mean, this is the ultimate here. Sitting at home, you know, you can only high five so many people. Here, you got the whole stadium to high five. And today, hope we get high five a lot, and I think we will.
Feels really good.
Yeah, we got some positive feedback out here.
The therapeutic stress relief that comes with a relaxing massage is just one of many treatments associated with holistic health care.
So when I tap the tube, the needle goes through the skin very quickly.
Techniques like massage and acupuncture, once considered outsiders to traditional medicine, are now becoming more mainstream. St. Luke's Hospital in Duluth recently opened a holistic healthcare center.
I just think it's a really neat way to be in tune with your body and find out what's going on with it and a way to take care of it.
Dr. Sarah Nelson at the center says that's what holistic medicine is all about, dealing with the health of the body, mind, and spirit. Treatments include all sorts of lifestyle management, including stress, diet, and exercise.
And we use it to determine how much body fat a person has.
Tests measuring body composition are one way a lifestyle education assistant monitors patients' well-being.
And I said, finally, the medical community is going to acknowledge, alternative medicine here. And I'm excited about that.
It's a new awareness that's growing for patients and for those in the holistic healthcare field. Larry Lighthawk fits into both categories. He used massage therapy to treat back problems.
And it was through using the techniques through massage therapy and yoga that I was able to walk down the road of healing for myself after being back to the point I was before I had the surgery in the first place.
Now he helps others with massage and energy therapy at the Crystal Center in Duluth, one of the growing number of people who say it works for them. In Duluth, Kim Kaiser, News 6.
As the boats sit quietly in calm waters in Superior's Barker's Island Marina, a stormy debate over how the facility is managed is going on in City Hall.
You bring the press, you stage this is ridiculous. I would suggest that we close this meeting.
20 years ago, the city of Superior built a marina here on Barker's Island, investing about $2.5 million city taxpayer dollars. The Superior City Council hired Sailboats Incorporated to run the marina and signed company president Jack Cully to a 20-year lease.
The marina has been doing very well, increasing revenues and payments to the city for the past 6 years.
Cully's lease expires in 6 months, and he's asked the city to renew it for 10 years.
We want to continue the operation in the way we have and continue the growth for the benefit of the city of Superior and for Sailboats Inc.
A committee of 3 city councilors has been appointed to look into the lease renewal. The city has received an average payment of $123,000 a year from the marina over the past 20 years. The councilors are concerned the marina is not moving quickly enough to pay back the taxpayers' investment.
The payments that we're receiving from the marina do not cover
right. And
either the principal, well, they don't cover the principal payments, let alone the interest.
The city councilors say the marina is doing well financially and should be paying more to the city. They feel significant changes need to be made in the way the lease is worded so taxpayers can share in the marina's success.
And some of our concerns were whether or not our lease was appropriate, whether or not we were getting adequate compensation for the amount of business going on down there.
Today's meeting got quite intense when councilors said they hadn't received cooperation in getting financial and other records from the city's finance director.
Excuse me, Mayor, I have the floor.
We are not going to
Excuse me, Mayor, I have the floor.
Let's leave. This is ridiculous. Jack, I'm sorry.
We have not had cooperation from your administration and in many cases yourself, Mayor.
The councilors continued to meet with Cully and his accountant after the mayor and her staff left, telling Cully they'd like to see money coming to the city from other profits the marina is earning.
We receive nothing for storage as far as I'm concerned. We don't receive anything so far as the operation of the lift, the service facility is concerned. We own it.
The Marina Committee hopes to make a recommendation about lease renewal to the full council by next Tuesday's meeting. In Superior, Barbara Riles, News 6.
On September 15th, a common thief went to Computer World located on London Road and stole 2 compact Armada 1750 laptop computers. The thief left behind the power adapters, which are only compatible with the Armada line and will need to be purchased separately. The 2 computers have a combined value of $4,700. Be suspicious if you're offered a deal on a new laptop that appears too good to be true or needs a power cord. Check the serial number and call Crime Stoppers. You will remain anonymous and you could earn a cash reward. Our numbers are 1-800-974-TIPS or 723-ENOUGH. That's 723-3683.
And who gets the support that Ventura can command, but it's celebrity, and that students are proud of that. If you manage to offend everybody, and in this interview he offended just about everybody that you can think of, at some point that does start to erode your popularity and your ability to be taken seriously, and I think that's just as much the case among younger people as it would be among any other generation.
From his days as a tall, gangly teen at Hibbing High School to his time of Celtic stardom, Kevin McHale has worked hard and played even harder. Now he's a new member of the Basketball Hall of Fame. Former coaches say they never knew he had a shot at so much recognition.
If anybody was to ask me back then if he was going to be in Hall of Fame, how could you say yes, you know? But he earned his way.
But Milan Knezovic, who coached McHale as a sophomore, says he went so far because he loves the game.
Well, he was good to coach because he was a diamond in the rough, but you could see the potential in any boy that grows fast like that. You never give up on.
McHale led his high school team to play in a state championship game, and coaches say he's come a long way since then.
When he went with the Celtics, he still continued to learn different moves and improved constantly. And of course, it was easy for him to improve because he was with people like Bird and Parrish and so forth.
Ready, free ball, here we go! In the gym where McHale once played at Lincoln Junior High, it's now volleyball instead of basketball season. But the coaches remember Mikhail when he played here.
And this tall, thin kid that was kind of out of proportion, long hands, and he had a duck to get under the doorway.
They say they're proud of their fellow Hibbing native.
I'm happy for Kevin because he is a great man right now, and I think he deserves it.
He's a common individual. I don't think he thinks he's any better than anybody else, and I admire him for that.
So people admire him greatly for this, that he is, he's still a Ranger. Well, like they say, once a Ranger, always a Ranger.
Mikhail's modesty and his strong ties to his Iron Range roots make him a hometown hero. In Hibbing, Kim Kaiser, News 6.
As anyone that got up this morning has no doubt they live in the great state of Minnesota because it was brisk.
There may have been a startling chill in the air this morning.
I got 3 calls ahead of you. I'm going to put you on hold. Thank you.
But the phone lines were hot on the Lunch with the Governor show.
I've wanted to praise you and praise you publicly.
Despite local and national backlash following the governor's interview with Playboy magazine, many listeners called to thank Ventura for his honesty.
Keep up the good work, Jesse. I back you 100%.
Stand by, you're next, okay?
Think like most people do, but they're afraid to say anything.
Ruby, stand by.
I wanted to let you know that I appreciate the honesty and the openness that you have the guts to be yourself.
However, the governor admits being what he calls honest is not always welcomed, and he says it is difficult to do in his job.
It's far easier and makes the job very simple and easy if you're politically correct. If you say the right answers, if you say the answers that the press generally thinks you should say.
But not everyone thinks Ventura is as sincere as he says he is.
I don't think that you're being honest with Minnesotans many times, and you are backtracking like many politicians have in the past on quotes that you've given that get you in trouble.
But trouble doesn't seem to faze the governor.
It's good to have a sense of humor, too, when you're the king.
He refuses to hold back and is learning to accept the consequences.
I'm going to answer truthfully in what I feel, and whatever happens, happens. So be it.
However, I do think that we might need to thank Governor. And I simply let the folks at one of the radio and television stations know that I had some comments for Jesse Ventura. A weaker mind might have been melancholy. A weaker mind might have despaired. It may very well look like being weak to onlookers who don't understand that it actually requires a very strong mind to practice faith in this world, in this day. Because Christ calls us not to think that we might need to thank Governor Ventura, and I'd like
Words of support and inspiration rang out on the picket line as steelworkers from across the country rallied with workers from MEI.
We came here to try to get them together and have this rally to let the community know that, not only our brothers and sisters suffering here in Duluth, Minnesota, but we're also suffering in Georgetown, South Carolina, because we feel their pain.
Steelworkers from other plants owned by parent company GSI stood alongside their steelworker family at an organized rally today.
I'm a stranger here in Minnesota, but when I see all the steelworkers around, we like family, and it made me feel real good. I can go back home proud.
Talking to my fellow union brothers and sisters, it's lifted our spirits up, as high as they can be right now.
Strikers are hoping the extra boost of inspiration will give them the strength they need to go on.
We know we're going to get through this. There was never a doubt that we were going to get through this, but now we know we're going to get through this.
In Gary, New Duluth, Jody Grayson, News 6.
Barker's Island has been run by the same company since its creation 20 years ago. Jack Cully of Sailboats Incorporated has asked the Superior City Council to renew his lease for another 10 years, but it hasn't been smooth sailing for that request.
We have to know what your numbers are in order to validate ours.
Cully wanted to leave the lease as it's been for the last 20 years. He pays the city 60% of the money he earns from seasonal dock rental.
The marina has been doing very well, increasing revenues and payments to the city for the past 6 years.
But members of a council task force think the marina can bring in a lot more money for the city. They suggested Cully's payment be increased to 70% of his dock rental income, and that a percentage of related marina activities be paid to the city as well. Those include boat storage, transient boat dockage, and gas sales. That would bring in an estimated $100,000 a year more to city coffers. But Cully said that would put him out of business.
We can't really react seriously to that kind of a proposal for the reason that there just isn't, the money's not there.
Councillors responded by saying, prove it. They asked him to open his books. But Cully refused, saying only part of his company's business is the marina, and he wants to protect his private interests.
25% of the revenues of his operations come from the marina. Now, if you go down and just, if he lays his books open to you, you're looking at other things that you have no right to look at.
Councillors then demanded an annual marina income statement as part of any lease. Negotiations resulted in a tentative lease agreement for the next 7 years. In the lease, Cully's total payment to the city would be increased to 65% of his dockage income. The city retains the right to review the lease in its 6th year. In Superior, Barbara Rialts, News 6.
The 1999 growing season is over and done with now and in the books, and technically it was a couple of weeks longer than normal. We had a lot of rainfall, and we're getting reports across the Northland of very large vegetables. But is this a widespread phenomenon, or is it more likely just random, isolated incidents of large veggies?
These 5-foot circumference pumpkins were grown by a budding farmer in Blackberry, while a longtime gardener produced a 225-pounder in Hayward. Even the squash got in on the game near Grand Rapids.
And it's not just vegetables that are supposedly benefiting. I planted this sunflower, or former sunflower, late in the season this summer. I completely ignored it. I did not water it. I didn't fertilize it. I was a very bad owner of the sunflower. It still managed to grow, though, to very large proportions.
But horticulturist Christy Lynn looks at the larger-than-normal growth as individual special cases in an otherwise almost dismal growing season.
Although we have had a long growing season, it's been plagued with really hot weather or really rainy weather, and not at the same time. It takes all the elements of growing a plant to have the best and the biggest. The hot weather can really dry plants out and slow them down. It can also prevent pollination, which is the biggest problem that happened this year. And then too much water can cause a lot of fungus.
So what is her professional view on the widespread giant growth this past season in the Northland?
There was a 980-pound pumpkin that was reported in Maine that's going to be shipped off to Switzerland, but I don't think that was grown anywhere around here.
How about the experts' advice on going for the growth next season?
Okay, if you want to grow that 80-pound squash, like I say, commit to it. Watch the rain, you got to watch the weather, how cold is it at night, fertilize, fertilize, fertilize.
And good luck.
Yeah, and good luck.
And just to put it all in perspective, even a normal-sized vegetable can seem large.
It's heavy. It's heavy.
For some junior gardeners.
It's heavy. It's heavy. It's heavy.
Too heavy.
Yeah.
In Duluth, Keith Marler, News 6.
Well,
felt no increase in blood pressure as the heat shield started to melt as he came back to Earth one time. All right, I'm going to ask you this. I was going to save it to the end. My 17-year-old son.
and I have a great minister right now. When I met him, he sat down with me. He's very perceptive. And he sat down with me, and in 2 minutes, he looked at me And he said, "You're going to come to church when you feel the need, aren't you?"
Really?
And I said, "Yeah."
Well,
and he said, "I'll accept that." And that's why he and I get along terrifically.
I understand. Jesse Ventura at Harvard. We have 800 people here. Let's get to the next question.
Governor, thanks for being
I'm going to say it to the end. My 17-year-old son, Michael, thinks you ought to be the next president. What do you think?
I think that I'm greatly flattered by Michael. Tell him that I greatly appreciate the honor that he would think of me in that light. But as I sit here in front of you right now, the bottom line is you have to want the job. I do not want the job.
Understanding your HMO is very important, and you've got to be prepared before a medical crisis changes your life. A big part of that preparation is asking key questions before you sign on the dotted line. Bobby Rush appealed her HMO when it refused to pay her mother's nursing home bills. Then she wrote to the state. She won.
I wouldn't give up. I would fight for my mom no matter what.
But avoiding a dispute in the first place is really a better course of action. Experts say you can if you ask the right questions before you sign up. Questions like, does your doctor have to get approval for your tests and treatment? Who will treat you, a doctor, an assistant, or a nurse? Does your plan exclude experimental treatments? And how many levels of appeal are there?
If you look at some of the HMOs, you will have to go through 5 grievance hearings before you're even allowed an arbitration.
There's an arbitration clause in almost every HMO contract, and when you sign it, you give up your right to a jury trial. But can you get away without signing that arbitration clause?
Absolutely, you may.
But because of the federal ERISA law, if you get your insurance from your employer, you can't sue your HMO unless you're a government or church employee.
So church and state are still protected. The rest of us are not.
Healthcare's changed a lot. It's very confusing today.
The HMO Pacific Care and a consumer action group has put together a free brochure. It strongly encourages you studying your plan before you sign.
The average person spends more time programming their VCR than they do reading about their benefits inside a health plan.
Secondly, the brochure encourages the development of a good relationship with your doctor.
Get good information, keep good records, choose a doctor who will listen to you, be assertive, and be appreciative.
Other advice from the experts: when you go to the doctor, take a list of questions. If you send a letter to your HMO, send it certified and keep your own file.
His people call him Anaquad, the Cloud, better known to many fans of his music as Frank Montano. He carries the torch of his ancestry, passing on history lessons through lonesome flute melodies. He's asked the children to close their eyes for this song.
As a youngster, I was taught that, sight is a good thing. But sometimes when we have our eyes open, we really can't see.
For some students with Native American heritage, this is a proud moment, sharing their history.
Some people don't know about how Indians are, and their music and their culture, so it's just good that they learn about it today.
It's great because you get to wear it and stuff on powwows. I dance and then I just have fun with my friends.
It's a colorful display with music many associate with the spirit and rich stories not told in most history books. It's all captivating and tells a big part of Northland tradition. There's a broad lesson to be learned from Anaquad, the cloud, and Bibigwan, the flute.
What I'm trying to do is to, in those children, as well as the others, to feel good about who you are.
Jason Rice, News 6.
And in reality, Dave, all the things I say I've said before. They're not new.
Right.
But now, all of a sudden, when I say them, apparently they're going to have a major effect on world policy.
Well, but or Minneapolis, and there's some trouble there, wasn't there?
Well, what I've learned from that is that, Dave, and in light of the time that's passed from then to now, I've learned that I can get in trouble now without you. And by the way, that's not the president's motorcade outside, that's mine.
Oh, now, come on.
No, the president's still back in the hotel with the interns. Do you think I'm in trouble again?
No, I don't know.
They offer unparalleled opportunities for hikers, hunters, and anglers. They're absolutely critical to the survival of many endangered species.
We've already lost 18,000 jobs since 1998 by virtue of increased imports, and many of those imports are coming from countries that don't have as good a forestry practices as we do.
Government safety experts are warning consumers side impact airbags can kill children if, like this dummy, they're not wearing a belt and are leaning into the car door. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is telling automakers who sell vehicles with rear seat bags, deactivate them. Dealers can turn them on only after customers are told of the risks. About 100,000 are now on the road, mostly luxury models. About 2.4 million cars and light trucks have front seat side airbags. Safety officials say this warning should alert parents children don't belong up front and should be correctly buckled when riding in back. But a spokeswoman for the insurance industry says the warning will needlessly frighten motorists into abandoning good technology.
There is no evidence with respect to real-world crashes of any injury to a child from a side impact airbag. No fatalities, no injuries.
Safety advocates, though, say the warning is appropriate, especially because the government was criticized for being too slow to issue alerts about front airbags.
It could be an overreaction, but I've worked with too many kids who were injured when they didn't need to be, and so let's err on the side of prevention, and let's get parents and caregivers to buckle kids up.
About 7,500 people are killed each year in side impact crashes. Jim Hanchett, NBC News, Washington.
The reality of what happened here, it's inefficient for moving steam to the heating span this far in both the roof and in. Oh yeah, you can just feel the part in your hand. Feel it away. Whoa! That space in between. Right.
What is happening beyond our eyes is probably more severe and more debilitating to the building than what we saw. So I was really rather surprised and shocked and feel even sadder about the condition of this building and even a greater urgency for these buildings to be replaced.
If anyone had taken the tour with us, they could only come to the same conclusion. Right. These buildings are unsafe. They're inadequate for the educational needs of this century. Their time has come and gone, and I don't think that anyone that took this tour with us would come to any other conclusion.
Normally, some pumps, but there's how this is right.
There's so much structural fatigue in this building that there's no way you can repair it. You can see all the
That's the surefire.
Counting device, you know exactly what's happening. You come down here and say zone 1. Okay, now.
Michelle, your attorney says it's over between you and Dale. Can you talk about it?
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Oh, scaring me.
Dale, anything to say?
Michelle, your attorney says it's over between you and Dale. Can you talk about it?
It's a chance for residents from the Northland to come together and celebrate peaceful activities and alternatives to violence.
Julie, can I take
You can't hold it, but you can pet him if you'd like. Use the back of your hand.
You should be careful about where you go and who you meet, and you don't want to talk to strangers and don't get in their car and stuff like that.
Two would be reverse circulation and one would be core.
With the markets today, the minerals that are on the site in the pit itself, it looks like it will be a success. And I say, Polymet, good luck. And the city needs the jobs.
Well, nothing can hurt it as far as business-wise. I mean, we're always welcome to see
new businesses come in. We need the jobs around the area, and I'm thinking it's a good thing.
Oh, they all gone?
Oh, paint
Do you need some help
You
lifting?
paint
No.
it.
Okay.
Hot spoil.
Hang on. Wait, we got this. We thought it'd be fun to celebrate our efforts, the kids' efforts, the gardeners' efforts, by pulling the community together and have the Harvest Festival together.
Did you get some paint? That just our pumpkin head will put that. Where's the paint?
Maybe 6. Oh, they all gone?
Spread out a little bit.
The biggest problem with just covering it over with clean sediments is that there's nothing to stop the contamination from continuing to leach into the river. If it was that easy, and as they have said that nature has done a good job of containing it, we're still finding contamination leaching out into the river and ultimately would leach into the lake.
Donald Blum is on trial for possessing guns, like the ones investigators found on his property near Moose Lake back in June. The results of that search will be allowed as evidence in this case, which stems from the law that says it's illegal for convicted felons like Blum to have firearms. In court, lawyers want to make sure that prospective jurors understand this case is separate from the state charges of kidnapping and killing Katie Poyer. But her family is watching this trial closely. Katie's grandfather, Lloyd Simich, listened to the start of jury selection.
They know what they're doing. I just wish it was a little faster. Get on with it and get over with the whole works. Outside that, everything seems to be going fine.
He says he hopes the trial will be quick and straightforward.
You tell your kids once to stay away from the stove and they go back, you wrap them on. That gets their attention. And I'm sure that should be the same with somebody who was put on parole. They told him they can't do it. Hey, but he breaks the law. Let's put him where he belongs.
Jurors were extensively questioned about what they've heard in the last few months about Katie Poyer's disappearance, as well as their attitude toward guns. Many said it would be difficult to put aside their feelings about the separate kidnapping and murder charges. Jury selection will continue here at the courthouse tomorrow morning. Once jurors have been chosen, lawyers say the trial could be over in a few days. Prosecutors estimate they have 1 to 2 days of witness testimony. They have about 20 witnesses they could call. The defense lawyer says he has about 5 witnesses. In Minneapolis, I'm Kim Kaiser, News 6. Okay.
Button your button. Button your top. Break it down into small pieces called what? Chunks. Could I find something to friends? Because people who are willing to laugh at themselves didn't generally have this ability to develop great friendships.
To prepare us for the future, I guess you say that's what the basic idea of this, and to make sure that everybody grows up with the knowledge of what's going on outside just their community, and to just try and get everybody together and make the world a better place.
Be the 20% that do move their body and do it right. Don't compromise.
At the Venture Capitalist Conference, Governor Ventura joked about how his popularity could help Minnesota tourism.
You know, I've attracted a little bit of attention to Minnesota over the last 9 months, so why not capitalize?
But the national media says the governor is capitalizing by toying with a potential run for president.
What do you make of that? Jesse Ventura made a commitment to serve his full 4-year term. His advisors are talking about the possibility of him going to the voters and asking to be excused from that commitment. Sound familiar? Bill Clinton, 1992, Arkansas made the same commitment and the voters released him.
The governor says, wait a minute, he never said that.
It's humorous. I have never brought up running for president. You have. Never have I brought it up. Every day I get 30 questions a day from the media on the presidency. I don't bring it up, you do.
The governor says the media has taken his words out of context once again.
Didn't you say if the people of Minnesota would let you out, you'd run? Isn't that a comment you made recently?
No.
You didn't make that?
No. I was talking to 2 Harvard students who were really begging me to run in an attempt to save the third party. I was very clear to them in the interview that I had no intention of running.
He says the reporters set that scenario. What if Minnesotans mobilized and gave him permission to pursue the presidency?
I said, well, if indeed it got to that point, it would require the people of Minnesota to come out and say, it's okay, Governor, run for president. It does not mean I'm doing it. I said that would simply be one thing that would have to happen. But the no's preceded that. No, no, no. I'm not.
Would your family
Mark and Michelle, lawyers completed opening statements today in Donald Blum's federal weapons trial. The prosecutor says he can prove that Blum knowingly possessed firearms, like the ones investigators found on his property near Moose Lake. That's illegal for convicted felons like Blum. The prosecutor says ammunition matching those guns was also found in Moose Lake, as well as in Blum's truck and his Richfield home. He says co-workers and friends will testify that they handed the guns to Blum, some on payment for carpentry work that he did. Some people will also testify that they hunted with Blum, who did have a hunting license in his name. But the defense lawyer says that the guns don't belong to Blum. He says they were forced on his family by a friend. One of those guns, the handgun, was apparently used by Blum's wife, Amy, for self-defense. The defense also says another gun was given by Blum's wife to her son. Blum's lawyer says his client did not legally possess the guns. Of course, that's the main issue in this case. Now, this all started around 3:30 this afternoon after the jury was selected. There are 5 women and 7 men on the panel. One man is from as far north as Bemidji, but most of the jurors are from the Twin Cities area. Blum's lawyer did try to get the entire jury pool thrown out of this case. He says they all have some opinion of Blum already, but the judge would not allow that. He says he thinks they can set aside their opinions as they judge the evidence in this case. There was also a full courtroom today as many members of Katie Poyer's family listened during these opening arguments. Now, the jurors will return tomorrow and they will continue to hear some of the witness testimony. Mark and Michelle. As testimony started in Donald Blum's federal weapons trial, jurors heard how investigators found 4 guns on his property near Moose Lake. The guns and ammunition turned up during a search in June. It's illegal for convicted felons like Blum to knowingly possess firearms, and that's what prosecutors say they will be able to prove. They plan to call witnesses who say they handed the guns to Blum or even hunted with him. But Blum's lawyer says he's ready to counter those arguments.
I'm happy the way it's gone so far, and that's all I'm going to say.
Holmstrom says Blum didn't use the guns. He was storing one gun for a friend, and the others were used by his wife and sons.
I'm happy it's got to this point now. Let's hope it keeps rolling, get this out of the way, and go on from there.
There's only 2 questions that basically have to be asked to Mr. Blum. Are you a convicted felon? Yes, he is. Did you have guns? Yes, you do. Boom, it's done.
Katie Poyer's family has been watching the trial closely, even though this case is separate from the state's kidnapping and murder charges. But they say it's hard to sit in the same courtroom with the man who once confessed to killing Katie.
I'd like to jump over the railing and get to him, but I got to keep my cool. I'd give anything in the world for 5 minutes with him, but then again, if I do that, then he wins. Doesn't bring Katie back. Nothing's going to bring Katie back.
The Poyer family plans to return to the courtroom tomorrow when jurors will hear more of prosecutors' evidence. Lawyers say it looks like this case could continue into the beginning of next week. In Minneapolis, I'm Kim Kaiser, News 6.
So there they were. But second sons, or third sons for that matter, were given. He ran his legs could carry him, so that was kind of like this.
Been like one of those crazy weathercasters. Because all of them move at night. The people that have been acting oddly today, viewers with her daughter, and how Dudley had learned Dumbledore. I'm sorry. Albus Dumbledore didn't seem to.
got a bite, you got a bite, you got a big one.
Oh, too hard.
Who's next? What can I do for you, Courtney? You got rabbits and dogs and wiener dogs and fish, giraffes. Dogs like that, huh?
Oh, that's it.
All right.
One of the, I mean, this whole area is considered a wetland. You're going to have mowed Kentucky bluegrass with a few big trees left around the edges, and that is not a forest. So they might save some of the biggest trees, but they're going to destroy the forest. So they're everywhere. Forest, but the four and the detailed to include. So this is the turf management plan, which includes
like Forest Service.
Because they recognize Jim. So he had getting for the cross-country ski trails either. You know, they just sort of.
Say trick or treat. Trick or treat.
Is it getting heavy for you?
There you go.
He's been so cooperative and so helpful. And
I think I can get it full in 3 years, and here's how I'll do it.
Right now, I'm just looking at the 99 dockages.
Just to break out the one marina. Yeah, just to break that out.
For the renewal, but
The
not
renewal,
but not on the current.
It's not on the current lease.
Right. In other words, the new, it'll take me 10 years to get it to full. Another one said, I think I can get it full in 3 years.
It was, when I stopped to think about it, 14,000 people marked my name off on the ballot, and that was a great honor.
As the campaign signs come down, Donnie Ness prepares for his next big challenge, sitting on the Duluth City Council Board.
I still don't consider myself a politician, I guess, but...
Even though he's only 25 years old, Donnie already has years of political experience under his belt.
When I was at Washington Junior, they were considering closing the school and moving it, and I was involved in student council back then, and I had the opportunity to speak in front of the school board. And
Donnie's love of Duluth and his desire to make a difference carried on to high school and later to college, where in 1997 he and his mother both received their diplomas.
That was very special. My mom had me when she was her sophomore year in college, and so she dropped out of school to raise me and then my younger brothers after that. And then after a while, she started taking classes gradually, and it was very special that she and I graduated together that year and were able to cross the stage together.
When Donnie's not busy campaigning for Congressman Oberstar, he enjoys playing basketball, working with kids, and spending time with family and friends.
I do spend a lot of my time in community activism and organizations like that, like the Human Rights Commission. I've been active in that. And I like hanging out with my friends. And
Donnie says he takes his new role very seriously, but he also wants to be able to have a little fun.
People ask me that if, well, so you can't go out and have fun now, or you can't hang out with your friends or things like that. No, it's not about that. It's about being yourself and enjoying your life, but at the same time now you're a city councilor, so you have those responsibilities. But it's nothing different than I've faced in the past, and it's going to be fun.
In Duluth, Jody Grayson, News 6.
They're all excited because there was some dual permits available this year, which hasn't been in years past. So they're just excited to get out, be with their friends, just really looking forward to this year.
Okay.
For much of last year and the first half of this year, 9 universities in Minnesota took part in a survey on sexual harassment.
Can be a comment or a touch.
Unwanted advances by people.
Hamlin University students appeared to know the most about sexual harassment and violence, and they seem to know how to address it.
To be fair or legally fair, that person has to know that you have to tell that person that you find that inappropriate, that it's affecting your work environment.
I'd like to score with her. Whew, talk about stacked. Good.
Greg, do you have to be so disgusting?
More than a third of the female students who were surveyed said they'd been victims of sexual harassment.
You're pretty hot stuff, too. What do you say?
The survey of sexual harassment and violence on college campuses offered a series of 25 statements. An example of one of those statements reads, "Most people who complain of sexual harassment are overreacting to expressions of normal sexual attraction."
When someone feels that they're put in a position where they don't want to be, they might overreact, but that's just reaffirming that they don't want to be in that position and they want to get out of it.
If the harasser is not able to realize how much he affects the other person, that other measures have to be taken.
The faces and minds behind the study say more research is needed on the topic.
Anyone you stop on the street is going to have a different idea about what sexual assault is.
The survey findings suggest a majority of Minnesota college students are able to identify the offense, but what remains unanswered is why they are so reluctant to report it.
No, but the State Human Rights Act doesn't.